delete the message. Okay, so I'm going to begin.
7 p.m.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so I want to begin. Today we are talking about interviews, how to excel in an interview. To excel means to do very, very well. How to have an excellent performance and create a positive impression on the interview. So my name is Brian. A little bit about me, just as we begin. I'm from Ireland, and Ireland is a beautiful country in Europe, in the west, to the west of England. So that's where I'm from. I've been in Greater China for over 30 years. I've lived in Taiwan for about 15, and I lived in Shanghai for about 15 years. So I've been, 30 years in Greater China, working in a number of different positions, always in education management, education leadership. So I have a lot of experience, a lot of cross-cultural communication experience, and a lot of experience actually interviewing local people, interviewing Asians. So I think that's why I'm a pretty good person to listen to for today. Now, let me just check how we're doing for people. I'm going to keep an eye. Okay. 2 Tims, Mabel, Francis, Eddie, and folks. Okay, great. So 30 years of experience in this industry, education, and also working with people from Asian cultures. And as a manager, I've also conducted thousands of interviews. And as a Western professional, a Western manager, I think I have maybe some different ideas or different insights into what Western organizations value and what Western organizations look for when they are making hiring decisions and when they are interviewing. All right. So we're going to keep going. A little bit about the company. I'm the founder and owner of a company called Next Gen Corporate Language Training. We deliver business communication skills training to Taiwanese professionals. Actually, our goal is to make Taiwan more competitive because many of our clients, actually the employees and the managers speak really good English. The quality of English is good, but they lack the communication skills that global players, that international business people use. So it's important to understand different communication styles and to be able to communicate internationally so that you can have a better impact for yourself, for your organization, and for Taiwan. So that's our company. I've been in this business for 30 years, but I set up this company about 2 years ago. That's a little bit about our company. Today, our objectives are, I have a few objectives. I want to share some insights into what interviewers or hiring managers in an international organization look for. So that's the first thing. I want to provide you with some insights into how I myself also as a Western manager, what I look for when I conduct an interview. I want to provide some practical advice and realistic answers. We have some sample answers for our 6 questions. And I want to give you the opportunity to ask questions. So this is a webinar. I will be delivering a presentation style, but you have the opportunity to ask me questions. We are going to begin with our introduction to our objectives. Then we're going to go through 6 of the most common questions. I'll explain what the hiring manager is looking for and how to answer those questions, and I'll provide some samples. Then we'll have an opportunity for question and answers and to summarize. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So to begin, just a few quick things. Please keep your microphone muted unless you want to speak, because otherwise I will hear the background noise from wherever you are. So keep your microphone on mute. But of course, if you do want to contribute, if you do want to say something, you can just unmute yourself and then you can just speak and I can hear you. You can use headphones for the best quality. If you're not at home or in your office, if you're outside, then you definitely need to use headphones. Feel free to take notes. We will send a recording after this webinar is being recorded, so you can get access to the full recording, so you can listen again and again. I've included a lot of text on the slides because I want to give you the opportunity to read. Some people may feel more comfortable reading as we go along, but actually you don't need to. I will explain everything. So if you just want to listen and practice your listening, then you don't really need to read the text. The text is just there to help people who will be more comfortable reading as I speak. But that's really up to you, whether you want to read the text or you just want to listen. How to participate? You can leave comments in the chat box. Please do. I want to get some interaction. This is a webinar. I can't really see you, so I'm depending on you giving me some kind of feedback, asking questions or making comments. Please feel free to do that. I'll stop occasionally just to check the chat box. And Lawrence is also here and he's taking questions, so he will also keep an eye. And I will, you can also unmute yourself if you want to speak at any time, okay? Now, I'm going to speak at native English speech. Maybe I'll speak a little bit slower than usual, but basically this is going to be a webinar conducted completely in English. So it's a good opportunity for you. If you have webinars or if you have conference calls in English, then this is also a good opportunity for you to practice your listening, okay? I'm just gonna take a quick look at who we've got here. Blake, welcome. Eddie, I've met Blake, welcome. Eddie, Francis, Jamie, Mabel, I know. Well, thank you for joining, Mabel. I've got Tim, I've got Volks, and I've got a few other people, okay? So great. I'm going to continue now. And if you have any comments, just use the chat box. I hope I'm speaking at a good speed. So this is how I'm going to speak right the way through. Okay, so is everybody okay? Maybe you can just give me a little bit of feedback to encourage me, of course. Let me know if you're okay. You can just type okay or give me a thumbs up or something. I'd like you, yes, great. I'd like to see you using the chat box. So thank you, Tim. I've got Eddie says okay. Volkswoo says okay. Jimmy, okay. Anyone else? Great. Francis, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Great, Eddie. Brian, thank you for sharing. Great introduction. Great, Eddie, thank you. Mabel, good start, thank you. And so on. Actually, I should point out, I have to manage my time carefully, but giving me feedback is also a good form of communication for you. So when you are interacting with your international colleagues, make sure that you proactively give feedback. So those kind of things. Mabel says, good start, thank you for sharing. Those are examples of really good communication skills because that makes me more interested to do a better job. If you don't give me any feedback, then I won't enjoy this. So communication is a two-way process. The more feedback you give me, the better I can, deliver and I can help you. Now, let's keep going. So I wanted to highlight some differences between a webinar and a virtual seminar. Because in my company now, we are beginning, because of the coronavirus, we are really focusing on doing more online training. So a webinar is really a great way for an expert to share knowledge. For someone like me with a lot of experience in interviewing, a webinar is a great way to share that knowledge with a lot of people in a short period of time. It's a convenient and cost-effective way also to get money. And it allows for different levels of participation. Webinars are very good because some people are comfortable speaking, some people can use the chat box, and some people can just listen. So even if your English level isn't very high, you can still benefit from listening to a webinar. So it's a very useful learning tool. Virtual seminars are a little bit different. Actually, they're very different. A virtual seminar really gives more opportunity to speak. So it's a great combination of sharing knowledge and practicing. The trainer is an expert. The trainer can share ideas, but also because there's a smaller group, you have more opportunities to practice actually speaking. It's great for focused learning content. That's what my company does. We don't really want to just, we don't want to just talk. We want to have focused content that adds value. And virtual seminars are great for getting practice and personalized feedback. When you have a small group, then the trainer can actually put you into different rooms and listen to you and give you really focused feedback. So that's a little bit about the difference between a webinar and a virtual seminar or a virtual class. Okay. So actually, here we go. Let's begin. I wanted to ask a quick question because I want you guys to be involved as much as possible. So here's my question. Please write something in the chat room. How can you stand out in an interview? In your opinion, if you have an interview, what are some ways that you can impress the interviewer, that you can stand out from the other competitors? So can you guys, I'd like to get some feedback. I'm going to look at the chat box for a moment. Is there anything in your opinion that is a really good way for you to stand out so that after the interview, the interviewer will remember, oh, I remember Blake because he did this or he said this. So we've got a few coming in, thank you. You can give example apps of both. Okay. Oh, let me see. Wear red trousers. Okay. I'm not sure. Thank you, Lawrence. I think that's humor. You can be confident and professional, Blake. Yes, that's a very important part. Be prepared. Very good. Thank you. Yes, we'll touch on that a little bit later. Sincerely share what I experienced and learned. Very good, Mabel. That's also something we'll be touching on later, that how you can add value. You need to share from your past and what you can contribute based on your past experience. Francis, be prepared and polite. Be prepared again. Yes, we're going to talk a lot about being prepared, actually. Of course, be polite. That's a good suggestion too. So we have some be professional. Know and show the advantage, fit the position. Jamie, that's an excellent point. Thank you. That's an excellent point. Know and show the advantage to fit. Yes, you need to understand the position and you need to show how you fit into that position. That's one of the key things we'll be talking about a little bit later. Great. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate the interaction. Now, let me move on and share some of the ways you can stand out in an interview. So here's how you can stand out in an interview. One, and you mentioned this a little bit, Jamie mentioned this actually, know more about the company than other candidates. Today, this will come up a lot, actually, right through all of the questions. I'll probably be using the word research a lot. You need to show that you understand the company. You've looked at their website, you understand their values. When you bring that to an interview, the interviewer will really be impressed by your level of preparation. And the interviewer will know you're really focused on getting this job. And this is not just the fourth interview you have and you're just using the same answers for everyone. That's a key part. Target, yes, I have from Tim. Target specifically at the company, yes. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. So you guys understand a lot of these points already, but I think I'll be able to add more value. That's an excellent point. Never be generic. Very good word. Very good word. Oh, it's Lawrence. Sure. Sorry, Lawrence. Of course, it's a good word for you. Yes, don't be generic. You need to focus, and you need to be different. Okay. Show how you are a perfect fit for the role. Very important also, that you didn't just apply for 15 companies and this is just one of your interviews. You need to show the person, actually, this is how I fit into the role, because the interviewer is asking that question in her head all the time. One of the fundamental questions as she does the interview is, how does this guy fit? Because my job is to hire someone who fits into and who can contribute to the company's business growth. So will this person fit into a role in our company? Even if you have excellent experience and skills, but if you don't fit the role I need, I'm not going to hire you. Okay? Show how your past has led up to this job. The best candidates can draw a picture. They can draw a line from their past right up to now, and they can show the interviewer, based on all of my past experience, it's all led up to this job. This job is a perfect fit for me, and I am a perfect fit for your company. Know how to support your ideas with concrete examples. Yes, this is one of the weaknesses. Sometimes people go to an interview, they prepare their answers, and the interviewer will ask behavioral questions or competency-based questions. Maybe they will ask, can you describe a time that you used that skill? And if you can't do that, it's difficult for you to persuade the interviewer that you really have the skill set that's required. So you need to be able to provide concrete examples or stories to support your key points and your strengths. Ask great questions. This is one of my favorites. To be honest, I often begin an interview by telling the other person, ask me questions, because immediately I can find out that person's priorities. The questions they ask will immediately tell me their mindset. But it's okay also if you do this later in the interview. That's just my personal style. Demonstrate enthusiasm and excitement for the position. Yep, this is also very important. We'll see in a moment, this is one of the reasons many people fail in interviews. They're very professional, they prepared all of their answers, they understand what the role is, but they don't show any actual eagerness. I really want to join this company. I'm really keen to work in this organization. And they don't build a bridge with the interviewer, and so maybe they don't get the job. Understand and communicate your value to the organization. A lot of people I work with, I recently worked with, I'll probably mention this later, a Japanese gentleman who was going for a position, and it took a long time for him to figure out what his value was, to be able to, for himself to understand it. Let me see. Next, provide clear, concise, and structured answers. Don't take too long to get your point. This is something we do in my company quite a lot. Even people who have good quality English doesn't mean they're good communicators. They don't structure their answers. They don't organize them logically. For an interviewer, for me as an interviewer, if I ask a question and the other person takes too long to answer, I think to myself, am I going to enjoy working with this person because they really don't communicate very well? And if you can't demonstrate good communication, that means maybe you can't think clearly. And that means that you can't implement and you can't complete your tasks on time. So this is a very important one for anyone who wants to work with a Western or an international organization. And it's also an important communication skill. Let me see. Yep, Lawrence made a point there. Okay. Now, Quick point, why do people sometimes fail in interviews? What are some common mistakes? Here we go. They didn't research. One of the biggest ones is you came to an interview, maybe I ask you, what do you know about my company? If you can't answer very clearly, oh, I know that this is your strategy. I know that you were set up here. I know right now your goal is to expand into Japan. If you can't answer that question, I will lose interest, because it shows maybe I'm just one of 10 interviews, so you're not really targeting me. Next, you didn't establish a fit. I think we mentioned it earlier. It's really important. You have to convince me that you're the right person for this role. Not that you're a really good employee, but you're the right person to fit this role. You didn't show enthusiasm, I just mentioned. No matter how qualified or how skilled you are, if you don't show enthusiasm, I will question whether you really want to work in my company. You didn't provide support, we mentioned earlier. You mentioned your strength, or you mentioned some strong points about you, but when I asked for more detail, you just couldn't provide me with more detail. You didn't ask good questions. That shows you didn't really maybe research the company. You don't know what to ask, or it shows you're really more interested in yourself, actually, rather than understanding what you can contribute to my organization. And you just didn't perform well. There's lots of reasons. We're not going to talk about these today, maybe some other time. Maybe your appearance isn't good. You didn't make good eye contact. You didn't shake my hand. You didn't show confidence. This is a lot of different reasons, but your performance was just poor in the interview, so I'm not going to offer you the position. Okay, so basically it comes down, this is the key. Many people fail to demonstrate an understanding of how they fit the role and how they would add value to this company. This is the fundamental question for me when I interview someone. I want to know, how are they going to contribute to the success, and how are they going to help me to drive business growth? How are they going to contribute and add value? And I also want them to demonstrate how they fit into my company. That means they've done research. That means they've thought about the position, and they've thought about my company. And when they came to the interview, they had a clear plan how they will fit in and how they will add value. If they don't have this kind of a plan, even if they perform well, even if they have good experience and good skills, I probably still will not be convinced to hire them, because they didn't demonstrate the value and they didn't demonstrate how they will fit into my company. Okay, let me look at I have a few comments here before I move on. Yep, let me see. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you. Turn mistakes into ideas. I like it, great. And yeah, Dora's made some comments too. Great. Okay, let's continue. So the first question, tell me about yourself. Let me see here. Have I got, I'm just going to move forward for a moment. Yes, I do have. I have a poll here. Okay, so everyone, when you are asked the question, tell me about yourself. When the interviewer asks you, tell me about yourself, I'd like you to fill in this quick survey. Does that mean she is interested in your family, your education background, your work experience, all of the above, or none of the above? So I'm going to ask you to fill in a short survey. Okay, everyone, please choose. Again, the question, when an interviewer asks you to tell me about yourself, she's interested in knowing about which? Is it your education, your work, all of the above, or none of the above? So I'm just going to give me a few moments. Oh, this is interesting. So let's see, how do I show my poll? I'm going to end the poll in about 15 seconds or 30 seconds. So far, nobody said your family, 43% your education background, your work experience, 50%, all of the above. So I'm going to end the poll in 5 seconds. Here we go, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, share the results. So everybody can see for this question, nobody said they're interested in your family. That's quite interesting. 43% of you believe that when you're asked to talk about yourself, the interviewer wants to know about your education. 50% of you said it's really your work experience. Almost 30% of you guys said it's all of the above. Excuse me, and 20% said it's really none of the above. Okay, so those are some very interesting results. So let me move on and explain from my perspective what exactly this question means. Okay, out of my poll. Right. Actually, this question isn't really about your character in general. It's about your understanding of yourself in relation to the job. So actually, the interviewer isn't really interested, in many ways, it's none of the above. The interviewer really isn't interested in your family. They really isn't interested just in your education or even your work experience. What the interviewer really wants to know is, how does all of this relate to this job? How is it relevant to this job? So I don't really want you to tell me about your college and your graduation and what you studied. I don't even want you to talk to me about your past work experience, telling me everything on your resume. I'm really interested in, how does this relate to this job? I want you to show me how you talk about yourself in such a way that it's relevant to this job and not anything else, basically. Yes, I have some comments. None of the above, then what? Okay, Tim, we're going to come to that. Sabrina, always linked to the job. Exactly, Sabrina. And when somebody says, tell me about yourself, they don't really want you to, well, I was born in England, and there's 5 people in my family, and I went to college in Trinity College. They're not really interested in that. They're really only interested in something that's relevant to this job. Tim, it was a bit of a trick question. Yeah, it was a little bit of a trick question, actually, yes. I basically just wanted you guys to think before we discuss the answer. In fact, that's one of the most important things in learning, is to get people to think before you actually teach something. So they're interested in how relevant this is to your work. So the interviewer is interested in knowing anything that is relevant to the job. So although this is an open-ended question, don't answer by talking about your family or your education or talking about your employment background. That really would be a mistake. Don't tell the interviewer your life story. Your answer must show why your experiences make you a great fit for this position. So I don't want to know about your past work experience, but I do want to know about work experience that demonstrates you are a good fit for this job. So for your resume, this is where you have to do some research and you have to highlight the things that are relevant to this role. If you give me a lot of background experience about your work, you will lose my attention and my interest. And also, you don't demonstrate good communication skills. You should know that I'm only interested in this job. I don't want to hear about your life. Deliver a short, compelling pitch that shows exactly why you're the right fit. So this tell me about yourself is really a sales pitch. It's really, demonstrating to me why your past experiences and skills are useful and valuable and can fit into this role. To successfully answer this question, you need to do research, really. At the beginning, I think a few people, mentioned this. You need to be prepared. So this is where you have to look at the company and understand the company's values, understand what kind of people they want to hire. So then you can highlight the most relevant things from your past that can really engage and can persuade the interviewer that you are a good fit for this position. This is a common kind of framework or strategy that you can use to answer this question. You can use a present, past, and future structure. Let me explain what that means. Excuse me while I move this around a little bit. Present, you can talk about your current role and what your current responsibilities are. Maybe try to highlight a few achievements. So first you can talk about, this is my current job. This is what I'm responsible. These are my priorities. This is what I deal with. This is what I handle. Then you can talk about, you can tell the interviewer a little bit about your past. So how did you arrive at your current job? So the interviewer can see a trend, or they can see a line from the past to the present. Tell the interviewer how you got your current position. Outline any previous experience that's relevant to the job application. So first talk about, this is my current job. I currently deal with, my responsibilities are blah, blah, blah. And then in my previous job, I was responsible for that. So they can see where you came from, where you are now, and then move to the third part, the future. Now you're going to tell the interviewer, now move on to describe what you'd like to do next and why you're interested in this position. So my current job is this. In my previous job, I did that. And that's why now I'm really interested in doing this role. So that is a very good structure that will lead the interviewer and make it very clear to them that there is a line and that you have a clear path. And so you don't give a lot of irrelevant information, you just stay focused on, this is why my past has made me a great fit for this position. I'm looking at some, what if you haven't had a job in 15 years? Okay, I'll tell you what, let me think about some of those questions. Maybe, you know what, Agneta, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm getting the pronunciation. Maybe you can ask me a little bit later in the Q&A, because I want to try and keep my focus. That's an excellent question, but I think it'll take me off my topic a little bit. So please ask me a little bit later, okay? Current job is the most important, 10, 15, or 10 years. Okay, we have some comments coming through. I'm just going to keep going for the moment, and I'll get to some of the comments a little bit later. So back to what I was saying. That's how you can structure this kind of tell me about yourself, so that it's really focused and relevant, and it can demonstrate your value to the interviewer. Here's a sample answer. There could be a lot of different, writing sample answers is a little bit difficult, to be honest, because everyone has different ideas and different skills, but I think this will give us a little bit of an idea. So I'm just going to read this. Well, I'm currently working as a sales rep at ABC Computers. I'm responsible for generating sales revenue and meeting monthly sales targets. My daily responsibilities include pitching to clients and managing a number of accounts. Before that, I worked in marketing at World Consulting. In that job, I dealt with social media marketing. I was responsible for managing a team who created content for Facebook and Instagram. What I enjoyed most about those jobs was the ability to meet clients, to understand their needs, and to create solutions to solve their problems. That's why I'm excited about this opportunity with your organization. The role combines many of the skills I've learned in my previous jobs, and I'm really interested to get more experience in marketing and to expand my marketing skill set. So that's a pretty good answer. You talked about your current job, you talked about your past job, and then you combine both to talk about what you want to do next and how you fit this role and how excited you are about this opportunity. So that's a great way to answer the tell me about yourself question. Okay, Lawrence is helping me out there, great. Okay, so I'm going to keep moving on. Yeah, I hope you guys are okay out there in webinar world. I want to point to, thank you, Eddie. Yeah, okay, great. Keep giving me some feedback. I hope I'm going at the right pace. I don't want to move too fast, but I also want to cover as much of the content, because actually myself and Lawrence spent a lot of time researching and preparing this. So I'm really excited to try and get through and to try and share as much as I can. So let me just share 7 important points about this question, because this is a pretty important question. That tell me about yourself. Almost every interviewer will ask this question. So 7 important points. Here we go. First of all, maybe this is a little bit like what I said before. Be focused. When they ask about yourself, the interviewer only wants information relevant to your job. Focus the answer on what job you are applying for. This is an opportunity to align, I love that word, to align your past experience with the role and demonstrate you are a good fit. So be focused, that's really, really important. Be professional. In some cultures, providing personal details is fine. However, for an international company, I would strongly suggest you don't really do this so much. Don't really talk about your hobbies or your family unless it's relevant, unless you can show something from your hobby that also shows you're a good fit. For example, for myself, I've been the captain of every football team I've ever played on since I was 6. So maybe I would share that information because it shows I have good leadership ability. But I wouldn't just talk about my family or my hobbies unless it demonstrates something related to my job. The reason I'd like to highlight this is actually from my own personal experience. So I want to share a little bit about cultural communication here. I find working in Asia, in Taiwan, in the mainland China, that when people apply for jobs, in their cover letter and even in their resume, they use a lot of personal information. I often get cover letters that give me a lot of personal details. I'm applying to this job because when I was a young person growing up in Taichung, my grandfather gave me some very useful advice. He told me, and so on. That doesn't, for an international company, that doesn't create a great impression. I'm not really interested in what your grandfather told you. I know this is a cultural thing, so perhaps that's fine, but I would just suggest for an international company, we just don't share much personal information. Be a little bit careful with that. In an interview, if I say, tell me about yourself, honestly, I really do want to hear about your family background or your hobbies. And I get this quite a lot over my years. I've really got people who want to share a little bit. Again, maybe it's just a cultural thing. In the West, we really separate our personal life from our professional life. So in this kind of an interview environment, I feel uncomfortable listening to stories about your family background or your sister or something like that. So I would really recommend that keep it professional and really don't use this kind of personal information. That's my advice. Okay. Moving on. Maybe you don't agree with that actually. Maybe you have a different experience. So I guess I'm just sharing my experience. But I have been in Asia for 30 years and I've done thousands of interviews. So I think it's worth sharing that insight. Next, be passionate. I think one of the reasons that people don't get jobs sometimes is, as I said, they have a great skill set, they're professional communicators, they've maybe demonstrated a connection between their past experience and this role, they are a good fit, but they haven't showed any passion or eagerness to work, maybe either for the company or in this role. I mean, it really helps if you want to come and work for my company. During the interview, if you demonstrate a passion, you understand what I'm trying to do, right? At NextGen, I understand you are trying to provide higher quality professional business skills to Taiwanese professionals. And I really believe that's an important mission. Immediately, you built a rapport with me. Immediately, I think, okay, this guy sounds good to me. So yeah, be professional, but show your passion. Share your passion if it's relevant. If you want to share a story that demonstrates your passion, great. Just don't give too many details. Again, if you want to tell me a story that demonstrates why you believe you are the perfect trainer for next-gen corporate language training, great. If you have a story about that demonstrates that, great. But I don't want to know all the details. I just want to get the key points. Otherwise, I will lose interest. So be passionate, yes. Be concise. You really need in an interview situation, to be honest, as a professional manager, I want to work with people who can communicate clearly and concisely in an organized way. If it takes you too long to get to your point, I will think to myself, oh my God, if I have to work with this guy and I have meetings with him and it takes him so long to make his point, he's going to drive me crazy. I just don't want to deal with that. So you don't need to describe everything on your resume. You can highlight and describe relevant information, demonstrating that you have good communication skills, that you can focus, that you can prioritize, that you can communicate clearly is really a valuable skill in any position. Keep your answers between 1 and 2 minutes to this question. Actually, if you look at recently I looked at the top 10 competencies for 2020, communication skills always comes in the top 10. Every company wants to work with someone who has good communication skills. So be concise. Moving on. Be prepared. Okay, we said this. You guys all understand that. Yes, you can practice your answers, but don't memorize them, please. I've had interviews in the past, actually mainly in mainland China, where it was clear the person memorized the question. It creates a very negative impression because in your everyday work, you will not be able to memorize. You're going to have to solve problems and deal with problems and communicate without having time to memorize. So be prepared, but do not memorize answers. And be positive is another very important. Nothing is worse than going to an interview and having the person talk about how bad their previous company was, or how negative the work environment, or how difficult their boss was. Nobody wants to work with someone who is a negative person. So don't say anything negative about a previous employer. It creates a very negative impression. If you had some negative experiences, maybe you can communicate them later in the interview if it comes up, but always try to present them in a positive way. It was a challenge. Working with that, I sometimes found it challenging to work with my previous boss. I think there were some difficulties in communication that we both had to overcome. So present it as a challenge that you try to overcome rather than just a negative. Nobody wants to listen to you complain in an interview, and nobody wants to work with someone who is negative at the workplace. And be impressive. Yeah, you only have one chance to make a first impression. Actually, a lot of hiring decisions are made in the first 2 minutes. Basically, when somebody comes into the room, I immediately form an impression. The rest of the interview, I just use to confirm my impression or to change my impression. So in the beginning, it's important to shake hands, to be positive, to use good eye contact. I mean, in this webinar, we don't have time to talk about all of those things, but just a quick point, make a good impression. It's really important. So to summarize, for the first question we talked about today, I'm just looking at my time. Tell me about yourself. You should leave the interviewer with the impression that all of your experience so far has brought you to this point. So she can easily see how this position fits you and how you will benefit and you will contribute in this position. So avoid just talking generally about your family or your hobbies. Really be focused. So that's really my advice for how to answer this question, and I've provided a sample. You can get the ebook later. Don't worry, we are preparing an ebook, and Lawrence, I'll talk a little bit later about that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Let me see how we're doing. Yeah, Lawrence has made some comments. Thank you, Lawrence, for making some comments in the box. Let me just move on. Right. Why do you want to work at this company? That's also really common. I think most interviewers will ask you this question. And they'll ask you the next question too. Why are you interested in this position? Sometimes they ask them together, but I've decided to separate them. Why do you want to work at this company? Let me just look at Okay, so I've got another short survey I'd like to ask you to take us a few minutes. The best way to answer this question is to clearly state how this will benefit your career. So when you're asked the question, why do you want to work at this company? The best way to answer this is to focus on how this will benefit your career. Please take a moment to answer the survey. Do you think no way, or that sounds great? Okay, I'm just waiting for some results to come in. Sounds like an election there, actually. Let me just look at participants. Okay. As you guys are voting there, I'll give you another 30 seconds. I'm just looking through my list of people. Great. Yeah, we have a lot of people here today. Great. I appreciate all of your time. I hope you're going to benefit. Actually, I'm pretty sure you should benefit from this. Oh, Gwilym, I see Gwilym's there. Hi, Gwilym. Great. Thank you for attending. Yeah, we've got a number of people. That's great. So, we have a few more, maybe 15 more seconds. I have 13 people who've answered the question. We still have a few more. Let me end the poll in 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, maybe we have some other people. Maybe 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end our poll and I'm going to share what you guys believe. So we can see here, everyone, for this question, 73% of you guys think that this is a really good way to answer this. Why do you want to work at this company? A good way to answer this question is to clearly state how this will benefit your career. So I have 4 people who said no way, which is interesting. I'm not saying which answer is correct or if there is a correct answer. I am curious though, for you guys who said that you don't think this is a great way, could you type some comments in the chat box? I'm curious, why don't you think that this is a good way to answer this question? I'm really curious about that. 11 people said it sounds great, and 4 people said, no, it doesn't sound, that's not, no way, that's not the way to answer it. Could you please, can you take a few minutes to type there? Let me see. Okay, I'm going to just wait. I'm kind of curious. Actually, I'm going to continue, but for you guys, I'm curious to see why you think that. But for the moment, I'm going to continue because I just want to move on with our webinar. Okay, why do you think? Yep. Okay, we've just done that, excuse me. Actually, just waiting. No, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to move on. The best way to answer this question is to clearly state working here will benefit your career. You know, actually, the interviewer really wants to know a little bit more than that. So if I were going to really say the correct answer is probably no. So I know 70% of you guys said yes. It is an important, it's not another, yeah, I see it's a trick, it's not really another trick question. No, this isn't really a trick question. I just wanted to see, you know, how you guys feel about this. It's part of the answer, but if you just focus on how this job or this company will benefit you, I think the interviewer will feel, okay, so you're only really focused on yourself and you're not really so much focused on what you can contribute to the company. Because if I hire you, I want you to contribute to the company. It's not just to help you with your career goals. So I think you need to add a little bit more, and let's just move forward and take a look at this. I have Francis. I think candidates have to say something. Yes, thank you, Francis. That's exactly what I mean. The candidates, when somebody says, why do you want to work at this company, you really need to also focus on that I want to contribute to your organization. I want to build your company's reputation. I want to drive business growth for you. Yes, I do want to, I want to have benefits for myself, but you need to make it clear that you also are going to contribute. So Francis, thank you, that's perfect. Normally I would be honest and say I'm trying to find a win-win solution. Yes, thank you, Blake. Yeah, that's a really good way to phrase it. The interviewer needs to believe that it is a win-win situation, that you're going to contribute to my organization. And of course, we are going to help you reach your personal goals. That's win-win, okay? Bullet number 2, sorry, I got something wrong, Tim, there. Okay. With my eagerness to further a company, I believe your company offer more flexibility and authority for me to achieve. Okay, fine. And he or she, sorry, Lawrence, he or she. Okay. She also wants, actually, sorry, for the she, for most of the content, I've just used the female pronoun instead of having to write he or she, him or her all the time. I've just chosen she as the interviewer. I just wanted to make it simpler instead of having to write he or she every time. The interviewer wants to know what motivates you apart from salary. She also wants to see how much you know about the company. And the question will show the interviewer how much you've prepared. Yes, if I ask someone in an interview how much, why do they want to work for Next Gen Corporate Language Training? I want to see whether they did some research, whether they made an effort to understand what I'm looking for. And the person who does that will have an immediate advantage over all the other candidates. That's the truth. If someone tells me, Brian, based on your website, I see that NextGen is really focused on not English teaching, but building and enhancing the communication skills of professionals. So that's really something that I'm interested in contributing to. And I also want to learn myself as a teacher how to deliver this kind of training. So it's a win-win. I'm going to help you with your mission, and you're also going to help me learn new valuable skills. So you need to have that, as Blake said, you need to have that win-win. So how to answer this question? Few things. Conducting research is the key. You really need to, as I said, take some time to look at the website and have a better understanding of this company. What are their core values? What's their mission? What do they want to achieve? Find out as much as you can and then use this information when answering the question. Research the company's mission, and perhaps the company is really interested in corporate social responsibility, or perhaps the company really focuses on its training and development. And I'd like to share a little insight also here. I mentioned earlier I recently mentored a Japanese business person who was trying to find a job in a big company here in Taiwan. One of the things we worked on, one of the things he did very well, he researched in great detail. And so when he went to the interview, actually he used it as a question, but he really showed them that he understood their problem, and he showed them that he did the research. And I personally believe that's one of the reasons he got the job. It was a very competitive job, and there were a lot of people, and they only hired one person, and he got this role. Of course, I like to think that my coaching also helped, but I think this was a really key factor, that he showed that he'd researched the company, he'd taken time to understand, and he'd tailored his question. Okay, I'm going to just keep going. I see a couple of comments here from Eddie. I'll come back to that in a moment, or maybe Lawrence can deal with that. I want to move on. Okay. So how to answer the question? This question actually provides a great opportunity to stand out from the other candidates. So really avoid saying something general. This is one of the biggest mistakes. Why do you want to work in my company? I want to work in a company that focuses on adding value to our customers. I want to work with a team of professionals who are dedicated to doing a good job. Actually, you could say that almost about any company. That doesn't show that you really took time to understand. In fact, I probably won't be impressed by that at all. You probably said that at your last interview, and you will probably say it at your next interview too. So it's really, avoid doing that. You need something to stand out. You need to show, to demonstrate to me that you really understand my company and how you can add value. There are 4 approaches you can take to answering this kind of question. Why do you want to work in my company? They are: 1, you can demonstrate how this company is unique, that you understand that this company is special, and that's why you want to work here. The key to answering this question is to be specific. Your answer should be unique, as I said, to this company. Don't come to my company and say, I want to work with a team of professionals who deliver high quality service to their customers. It's kind of meaningless because you can say it to everyone. You need to be very specific. You need to be able to say something. You've looked at my website. You've seen that we focus on specifically delivering business communication skills. So you want to focus on this. I want to work at a company that focuses on making Taiwanese professionals more competitive in a global market. It's like, okay, that's what we do. So, right. So this is a really good way to answer. That's why you want to work with us. It's very specific. If you want to talk about the company culture, be specific. Don't say, I want to work in a company with a great corporate culture. It's too vague. It's actually meaningless. You have to be specific. I noticed in your company, you take a lot of time to develop your corporate culture. You offer ongoing training and development to build engagement internally. Your HR focus on engaging with employees. That's what really attracts me to work in your company. It's very specific. It shows you focused on my company and you did research. You will stand out immediately from other candidates who just say something general. Give an example of something the company did that really impressed you. I was really impressed. I understand that your company focuses corporate social responsibility. What really impressed me was how much you work with local communities to clean up beaches in Taiwan. So those are all excellent answers. So show that this is a unique company. I want to work for your company because it's so unique. That will really impress me and it will give you a big advantage over other candidates. You can sometimes go back in time. You can show that you followed this company from before. So maybe you tell a story about how this company impressed you in the past. Actually, I have a very quick short story to share here about Lawrence, my partner here. I'm not going to mention the company because we actually have some people, a person from the company, but when we were looking to work with a client, Lawrence was really interested to connect with one particular client because they have a really good business model and they're a green company. So they focus on the environment. So they have very good values. So Lawrence was really excited to work to engage with that company and to try and deliver training to that company. So that's a good example to me. He really pushed this a lot. He was very excited by the opportunity to meet that company. You need to have the same feeling to come to my company and interview. You're really excited to work with me because, and be specific. Maybe you tell a story about something from the past. You noticed what really impressed me 2 years ago, your company did this. That shows that you were aware of my company even before the job interview. So you were paying attention to my company even before you even knew there was going to be a job. Do research, share something about the company's past, describe something in the company's past history that would really impress me. Brian, I know that you set up the company 2 years ago and you've opened a new office here. I think that's a really good strategy, and explain why. That shows me that you really focus on my company. That will make me want to hire you. Okay. Lawrence, thank you. Lawrence is helping me out with some questions, so I'm going to continue. The other thing you can do to answer this question, remember the question is, why do you want to work in this company? You could think ahead. You could actually look at the company, do your research, and describe areas where you think the company can grow. This is excellent. I've had a few people do this actually, and I hired them. I can tell you, I hired them. Somebody comes to my company at the interview and they've done some analysis and they've looked at my website and they've actually said during the interview, you know, Brian, I think an area you could develop is this. I really feel, wow, this is someone who's already thinking about the future. He's already thinking about he or she can contribute. I'm really immediately interested to work with this person. So describe areas and explain, you know, this is an area I think your company could move into. I'm really excited. And it's better if you have a skill set you can match. Actually, I did this before. Describing how you'll contribute to that growth is a great way to answer. It shows that you've thought deeply about this before you came to the interview. When I said, why do you want to work in my company? You say, actually, Brian, there's a number of things. You know, in fact, looking at your business model, I suggest you could move into this area. And in fact, I have a skill set. In my previous job, I actually delivered this kind of training program. So I think I'm really excited to bring my skills and my experience to help you grow into this new area. That's, yeah, that person, I'll hire that person actually. If everything else is okay, that person's got a job. Okay, and one other strategy, you can offer a personal touch. Yeah, this is also a good thing to do. If you know someone who works at the company, you can describe a little bit. Why do you want to work in this company? Actually, one of my classmates, one of my friends works in this company, and I'm really impressed by the way you operate. My friend has given me a lot of positive feedback. I'm really interested to work in the company because actually he shared some of your ideas about training and your company's vision. So you can say something personal. Be specific. Yeah, don't say something general. My friend told me this is a great company to work for. It's meaningless. It's too vague. It has no meaning. Actually, I have a friend who works here, and he shared with me some of the benefits of working here. For example, he pointed out how the HR engages with the employees here and talks about them regularly about their personal development. That's really interesting. I'd like to join a company who pays such attention to training and development. Make it specific. If you don't know anyone at the company, you can even make a comment about your experience. So yeah, I'd like to work here. Actually, I've been really impressed by the way you've dealt with my interview process. It's been really dealt with in a very professionally, in a timely manner. All of the communication has been really professional. I'm so impressed. I'm really looking forward to working in this kind of an organization. All of those strategies will give you a really big advantage over other people who really haven't taken the time to think through and to really prepare for this question. I can honestly tell you that I have myself personally hired people who have used a few of these strategies. I've been so impressed. I really like the one where they talk about the future. As a business leader myself, if someone comes to me and says, I've taken a look at your website and your business and I think you can develop in this area, I feel immediately impressed by that person. But any of these actually are very useful. Any of these strategies for dealing with why do you want to work in my company? Here I have a sample answer. I followed this company for a number of years and I've been impressed with your corporate social responsibility program. I think it's important that large organizations like this take the initiative to create a sustainable future for us all. I'm looking forward to working in a company that values and contributes to building a better future for everyone. So here, this demonstrates, I think on my next slide, I'm sorry, I don't have time for this. Sorry, I'm going to go back, excuse me. This really demonstrates that you understand the company, you understand the values, you share those values, and you're looking forward to working in this kind of a company. Okay, let me just take a quick note. Lawrence is helping me with the questions here. So, Lawrence, let me see, do I need to answer anything? Dora's asked a few great questions. I'll tell you what, in a moment or a little bit later, I'll look at the chat box. I'm just going to move on a little bit. Lawrence, I guess you're okay dealing with the questions. Please give me a quick note. Yeah, I think, can we mention other competitors compared to the company? Doris, yes. Lawrence has answered that question. I'll just move on. Yes, if you are going to mention other competitors, I'd just be careful. Don't say something negative, as Lawrence has pointed out. It's kind of a little bit unethical. It creates a negative impression if you start bad-mouthing competitors. So remember what I said at the beginning, always be positive. Now, moving on. I'm not going to do this because I look at my watch, I don't have time. I had planned just to ask someone if they wanted to try to answer this question for me, but I guess we'll have to leave that for another time, or maybe you can attend one of our meetups, because we have regular meetups in our office where we actually practice using these kind of skills in a real situation. So I'm going to move on to that now. I'm moving to our third question. I'm just looking at my time. Okay, just a moment. I'm going to have a sip of water. So give me a moment, break. Nice. Why are you interested in this position? Okay. Actually, Lawrence is at, does anyone have a question to ask? If you have a question, please type any of your questions or comments. And I'll look in the chat box in a few minutes and answer anything you want to know. Okay, so any questions, please feel free to use the chat box and I'll take a few minutes to answer. Let's move on to question number 3. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I can say right now, we really will not have time to go through all 6 of our questions today. We prepared a lot of content, and myself and Lawrence discussed this before, and we wanted to really give as much value as possible, but I think it would be a mistake to try and rush through all of the 6 questions. Perhaps we'll just, first of all, we'll have an ebook, and you can download or you can get our ebook, and perhaps we'll just schedule a follow-up seminar, a follow-up webinar. If we get, maybe you can give us some feedback after if you'd like to just continue this, because there's just too much to cover in 1.5 hours, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, because, you know, listening to someone speaking for 1.5 hours is really quite challenging. So let's focus on getting our 3rd question, and maybe have a Q&A, and then we'll Shannon Bamfa. Why are you interested in this position? Okay, next question. What's this question all about? Okay, the interviewer wants to know a number of things when she asks this question. Why are you interested in this position? As I said, sometimes these questions are together. Why do you want to work in this company, or why are you interested in this position? Sometimes you can put both of them together, but I just wanted to separate them to provide as much information as I could. What are your career, so the interviewer wants to know a few things. What are your career goals, and how does this role fit into your career objectives? So when I ask you, why do you want this job? Why do you want this position? I'm really asking you a few things. First, you know, what are your career goals, and how does this fit into your career goals? What is it about this job that motivates you and excites you? What do you know about this role? And what I want to know about your priorities, basically, and which parts of the job really excite you, so that I can better understand what motivates you. So when I ask you, why do you want this job? Actually, I'm looking for a number of different things. How does this fit into your career goals? What excites, what part of this job excites you? How much do you know? Did you really make an effort to understand the role? Or is this just interview 5, and you have 5 more interviews later this week and you didn't really take time? And yeah, I want to know, what are your priorities? By answering this question, you will let me know what excites you, what motivates you, how this fits into your goals, and what your priorities are. So there are basically 3 steps I would recommend to answer this question. Number 1, you need to demonstrate your knowledge about the company. So this is a little bit like the previous question. I really focused also on if you're answering, why do you want to work in this company? Why do you want to work in this job? You really need to know about the company. You need to understand the company and get as much information about the company's values as you can. You need to align your skills and experience with the role. That's really important. We talked at the beginning about showing how you fit into the role. Basically, that's the biggest question I have. That's the truth. When I interview someone is, like I said at the beginning, how can you contribute to the growth of my business, to the success of my business, and how can you fit into my company in such a way that you add value? So you need to, when somebody asks you, why do you want this position, you need to align your skills with and experience with the role. And you should demonstrate a career path. It's really important to me that I usually figure this out when I look at the resume, but I want to hire someone who has a career goal and you can see the path. They didn't jump around too much. Now, maybe in a later webinar, I'll show you if you did jump around or if you have gaps in your resume, there are ways you can deal with that positively. But generally speaking, when I hire someone, I want that person to have a career path that they can explain to me, and that they can show how this job fits into that path. All right? So number one, step one, demonstrate your knowledge about the company. Do research. It's really impressive when a candidate knows something about the operations and strategies, actually. So yeah, if I have an interview and someone can talk to me about my business, they've figured out, they've taken time to understand what my business model is or what my products or services are, and they can talk about that, I feel really impressed. It really shows me that this is someone with a leadership or a management mindset. I'm looking for that mindset. I'm not just looking for an employee who comes, works from 9 to 5 and goes home. I'm really looking for someone who's thinking beyond that. So this step one, demonstrating your knowledge of the company and my operations, will really impress me. Then use the information during the interview. And it also makes it seem that you are really following my company, that this is an important thing. You know a lot about my business, you've thought about my business, and that's why you want to work in this role. Next, align your skills and experience with the role. So now you have to identify parts of the job that fit your skill set. So if it's if you're applying for a management role, you need to understand, okay, managers need to be effective communicators, they need to delegate, they need to plan effectively, they need to be problem solvers, they need to look at the big picture. So all of those kind of skills that a manager needs, you need to then think, okay, from my past, which of my skills aligns with that? Good communication, a manager needs good communication skills. Well, actually in my previous job, I did. I had to communicate I had to coordinate among different teams. So I now can align my experience with that important skill. So identify the job and see where your skills fit. Explain how your experience matches the job. That's why you are a perfect fit. You're perfect for this position. So align your skills with the job description and describe how excited you are. That's the second part. The first part, understand the company. The second, align your skills with the role. And then the third part is demonstrate your career path. Let me just I'll get everything out here. The third thing I'm looking for is for you to demonstrate that this is a part of your career goal. You don't just need any job right now. You need money, so you saw this job and you decided to take it. There's a clear path, and this makes sense for your career path. So the third step is to show how this position fits into your career path. How your past career has prepared you for this role. And also make sure when you are talking about your career path that you also focus on what you will contribute. Don't just focus on, this is my career path, because the interviewer might think, okay, so this is just one step in your career, and after you take this step, you're going to leave us and go to another job. So it's really important that you show, this is a part of my career path, but I'm also going to contribute in this role. So it's a win-win situation, as Blake mentioned earlier. Right, I'm just gonna, before I move on, take a look. Is there any questions? Or Lawrence, have you dealt with the questions? Yeah, let me just see. I would suggest, where am I going? Blake is talking to everyone. I guess this question is to ask your personality. Maybe we should answer something more positive about personality. Let me see, I'm sorry, which question are we talking about? Is this about your career path? Let me just see, Blake, I'm a little bit confused. Maybe I should have looked earlier. This is my answer. I'm affected and taught by my thoughtfulness and attitude, and encourage respect others. Okay. Okay, Eddie, I'm just going to make a quick comment, Eddie. Keep your language a little bit simpler. You're using a lot of good quality language, but maybe use shorter sentences when you communicate. It's a little bit difficult to understand. I think you're trying to put 2 or 3 big ideas into one sentence. So maybe break it into smaller sentences. It'll be a little bit easier. That's just a little bit of communication feedback. Just tell the interviewer that refused to answer a personal question. Yeah, I'm not quite sure where the personal question issue is coming up, so I'm just going to continue. Usually an interviewer, folks, usually an interviewer won't ask a personal question. Certainly in international companies, it's often illegal. It's discrimination. So if I ask you about your family or about your age or about your background, it's against the law. You can actually sue me. There are very strong laws in international business against against discrimination. So a professional Western manager will not ask you a really personal question because it's illegal. They can't do it. There's our 3 steps. Just to go a quick reminder. Step number 1, I've got to go back here, is demonstrate your knowledge about the company. Align your skills with the role, and then talk about your career path. If you take those 3 steps, then that's a really effective way for you to answer why are you interested in this position. And let's take a quick look at our sample answer. I know that your company invests in green technology. You already have teams working on the wind stations off the coast of Taiwan. I'm really excited about working with a company that is developing green energy. Previously, I worked on e-scooters at Gogoro. Oops, I mentioned the company name there. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't mention names. Previously, I worked on e-scooters at Gogoro, so I already have valuable skills and experience in this green energy. That makes me a great fit for this position, as I've worked in green energy for the past 6 years and I've learned a lot about green technology. This position is a great opportunity to learn and contribute my skills to help this company grow. So you can see what we did, our 3 steps. First, we focused on, I understand the company. Then we talked about my skills. I already worked in this industry, so I already have these skills. And then we talked about my career path. This makes me a great fit because I'm going to learn these skills, which fits my career path, and I'm going to contribute these skills to your organization. So that's a really good answer to the question. Okay, I think let me see, yep. This 3-step strategy shows 3 things. First, it shows your knowledge and enthusiasm about the company. Then it shows your relevant skills and experience, and then it shows how you fit into the position. So that's a really good answer. As I've said, all of the strategies and answers we've talked about so far would really impress me as a hiring manager. That's the truth. And as I mentioned, in the past, I have hired people who have used some of these strategies. And I also should say, they all turned out to be excellent hiring decisions. I didn't regret. I still remember the names of some of the people. John Harley is a great example of someone who used some of these strategies and went on to be an excellent manager in my team. Now, guys, question time. So we've actually reached we thought it was going to be the halfway mark, but it's gonna be pretty much the end. So could you guys please ask me some questions now? I'd really like to, in your chat box, is there anything that I can answer? Yeah, and you can, if you want, you can actually unmute yourself and you can ask me, you can speak to me. So please type some questions. I'd like to know what questions you have. It's 8:25, so basically I will, let me see. Okay, I have from Dora to everyone. If the interviewer said they know I am a good fit, but they want to know what makes me different from other candidates, my personal qualities, skills, I feel it's kind of difficult. Okay, let me see. Actually, that's a very good question, Dora. You know, I'm a little bit frustrated by that because the next three questions we're going to talk about are, one of them is how to describe your strength, and it answers that question, and we just don't have time to get there today. So maybe we'll just, you know, send an ebook, because I have some very good answers on how to stand out, how to use your strengths, and even use your weaknesses to really demonstrate why you are different. But I just don't have time to answer that question. Maybe I'll just flick through in a moment. Let me see. Let's deal with it next time. Yeah, thanks, Lawrence. I actually feel a little bit frustrated. I've enjoyed spending time with you guys, but I realize we have so much more that I want to share, and I won't have time tonight. Stay tuned for more insights. Yeah. Let me. You guys, please think about a few questions. Jamie Trevor, I think the question why you fit into the position is not easy to be outstanding. Why you fit into this is not easy to be. Jamie, yes, it's not an easy question to answer, but I think if you look at some of the questions we mentioned earlier, you know, why do you want this position? I think some of the strategies I've mentioned really do help you to stand out. If you focus exactly on the company, you talk about why the company is unique, and you use those kind of strategies, you will stand out and you will be impressive if you use some of those. Let me just move forward a little bit. I want to show you a little bit of what we planned to talk about, and maybe if you're interested, we can continue the next time. Let me just see. Yeah, why should we hire you is the next question. So this question really does focus on, you know, what makes you stand out, what makes you different from the others. And I guess if we can arrange another webinar, we can cover this in more detail, or we can send you the ebook, because yeah, I have a lot of strategies to answer, you know, exactly how you can deal with why should we hire you, which is a common question. Sometimes they will ask, you know, what can you bring to the company? What characteristics do you have that others don't have? What's special about you, or just why should we hire you? So we have quite a detailed answer to this, how you can stand out, but I have three strategies to effectively answer this question. We just won't have time. So join us next time, or please look at the ebook, and we have all of them. We have sample answers. Why should we hire you? I have a number of different things. Oh, I should point out here, we do have free training resources. So if you want to get online, you can get an ebook of this event, or if you send an email address online. We also have articles and blogs. We have lots of events and competitions. So, you know, follow us online. I think Lawrence knows more about that than I do. And you can get your ebook, and you can get access to other learning resources. Let me see. Blake, I do learn a lot in this webinar. It's really handy. I could use them in my interviews. Thanks, Blake. That's great. Maybe next time. Yeah, sorry, Dora. Lawrence, take a photo now. Let me see, Lawrence, to everyone. Okay, let me just move through. If you want to get us online, please take a photo of that line, and we'll be able to send you your ebook, and we'll be able to communicate. Like I say, we have meetup activities. We have a business communications training club here where people come and we practice face-to-face, and we have lots of resources, and we're going to be doing lots of webinars. So let me see. The other questions that we don't have time for today, as I said, are why should we hire you? What are your strengths? And what are your weaknesses? Those are the other three questions. But I'm just not, it's 8:30. We planned to finish around 8:30, and I really appreciate your time so far. So if you guys would like to, let me just see what my next slide is. Oh, our greatest strength. Oh, I'd love to talk about that. I can't. Actually, this is later on. We're, you know, in the next webinar, if we arrange a next webinar, we talk about our greatest weaknesses. One of my weaknesses as a trainer is trying to teach too much. I often find myself just trying to add as much value as I can, and then later realizing that it just wasn't realistic. So that's one of my weaknesses. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end here. I would really appreciate if you give me a little bit of feedback in the chat. It doesn't have to be positive. I'm a big guy. I can deal with negative criticism. If there's something that you didn't really enjoy, or some comments you want to make that you would, maybe something you would like differently, then, you know, put your comment. We create all of our own content at NextGen Corporate Language Training. We're probably the only, I think we're the only company that really creates our content. We own all of our intellectual property right. It's all our copyright. So we do like to hear from people, and we basically create content based on feedback from our clients and our customers. So if you have feedback, if there's some question you would like us to answer, you can type it in, or you can send us in line, maybe for the next time. If there's one particular interview question that you'd like us to prepare, great, because I'm going to be preparing a lot of interview content in the next month, and other content too. We have content on presentations, meetings, and all sorts of communication skills. Okay, great. Let me just take a look at some of the comments coming in here. Thanks, Mabel. Actually, I really do appreciate you joining. I know you're busy, Mabel. It's great. Thank you for your time. All the information is practical and can leverage. Oh, I'm going to do one more thing actually before I leave. Thanks for the feedback. Yeah, great. Thanks for the advice, Francis. Great. Francis, you also made some very good comments. So I'd like to thank you for your participation. It's useful. Thank you, Dora. I know we didn't answer all of your questions, but I appreciate your proactive approach. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we also, Lawrence has made a point. We do one-on-one, face-to-face. We do online training. If you do have upcoming interviews, yeah, we can facilitate. We can provide you with very focused. And so far, I'm 2 for 2. I recently mentored or coached 2 people looking for positions, and they both got their position. So I'm quite proud of that. Hope that doesn't seem arrogant. Yep, and this station, right. Now, you know, I'm going to do one more thing. Stay with me for just one more minute. I'm going to just flick right through to the end, because one thing I wanted to highlight is we are, in these kind of webinars, we really don't have time to talk about actual language. It's really more about the concepts. But I do like, as a trainer, I do like to highlight the importance of language. So yeah, and when you are doing your interviews and when we are doing our business communication training, we really focus on the quality of communication. So these are some great examples of the kind of language you should be using. So if you are describing your responsibilities or your priorities, you will really impress your international interviewer if you can use this kind of language. You know, I'll just highlight some of the language here before I go. To maintain a strong, my top priority is to maintain a strong relationship with our key accounts, to develop new business opportunities and drive our sales, to drive sales revenue growth, to generate leads and build a sales pipeline, to reach monthly revenue targets and achieve our goals. So I just wanted to make a final comment about the importance of using good quality language. Actually, I've just realized this is some of the language I've used recently. I've been working with a sales director at a multinational company, and she has to describe sales, and this is the kind of language I talk to her. So the importance of good quality language is also really vital when you conduct your interview. Okay, everyone, I'm going to, let me see, look at my messages, and then I'm going to go home. My wife has cooked a nice dinner today. I'm Irish, so I like simple food, just nice potatoes and some chicken, so I'm looking forward to that. Let's see, Francis, thank you. Angelina, oh, very nice name, thank you very much. Tim, thanks so much. Great interaction through survey in the webinar. Appreciate your comments. Francis, host and co-host are both excellent. Great, thank you, Francis. And okay, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your time and efforts. I'm about to finish then. Thank you very much. We have a recording, and if you go online, or sorry, if you get online with us, we can also send you the ebook and send you the recording. Otherwise, you can just find us online, I guess, and you can, Lawrence will be in contact with you through Facebook or through our meetup group. Okay, it's 8:35, and good night. Talk to you next time. Please let us know online if you're communicating with Lawrence whether you would like to have a follow-up. I think we'll probably arrange a follow-up because I spent a lot of time with Lawrence preparing the other three questions, and I'm really keen to share. Okay, good night, everyone. Take care and keep yourselves safe through this virus crisis that we're all experiencing at the moment. And remember, if you want some online training, we do webinars, we do online virtual classes, and we do all sorts of online activities now. Hopefully I'll see you again. Good night. Okay.